Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 are here and so good. Good thing K-Dot tried to warn us, right? Turn this TV off, indeed. Now that I've fired that rent-lowering shotgun blast, let's get down to business. When my Penumbra Phantasm video unexpectedly popped off a while ago, I was faced with enough corrections and clarifications to necessitate a small follow-up. The obvious time for this was after the new chapter, so I could cover any hints about the song contained within. But it turns out that the elephant in the room preceded the rest of the game, because I got an answer to my video's question much earlier than expected. On May 30th, Toby stated the following:
No songs composed for Homestuck or primarily containing Homestuck music will be used in Deltarune.
Pretty unambiguously confirming that Penumbra Phantasm will not be in Deltarune. It's finally over. It was honestly a relief to have this deconfirmed before the chapters came out, so I didn't go into them listening for it. He did us freaks a kindness by letting us down early in such clear terms. The interview question that prompted this answer seemed pretty targeted, too. The page actually has a poll asking about Penumbra Phantasm.
Is the Penumbra Phantasm fan theory now dead? Yes, it's all over. No, I have copium.
While I'm pretty firmly in the first camp, the size of the latter gives me hope that this video is still worth making. I come here before you out of journalistic obligation, and not because I have a groundbreaking theory about the song's future or something like that. So please consider this video a fun bonus DLC dungeon if you liked the first video. Actually, maybe it's more like the Tenna boss fight with all the mini-games. Wasn't that cool? I miss Tenna. Anyway, let's start dipping our minds in battery acid. I may use buzzwords like brain rot and copium, but all things considered, I wouldn't have made a Penumbra Phantasm theory video if I thought the evidence wasn't compelling. Before the interview, I thought it was an even 50-50 on if it would happen or not. In fact, as a show of good faith, I'll give away the absolute dumbest fan theory I had before Chapter 3. This was kind of like my personal Woody theory. There's this bonus track on one of the old Homestuck albums called The Blind Prophet, which is one of the most unhinged things Toby has ever composed. There's a part where it goes into the King of the Hill theme for like no reason. If you're my age, this might bring to mind those only 2000s kids will remember this memes that are like Cartoon Network at 7:59 p.m. for no reason, and then it's that intro fucking blaring. This shared canonical American childhood experience positions Adult Swim as the hidden seedy underbelly of the TV world. Get it? Like the much like spam emails are for the laptop world. So for all of about 5 minutes, I convinced myself that Toby might make a new arrangement of The Blind Prophet for an adult animated sitcom dad secret boss. He would serve to represent the family status quo Chris lost after Asgore ran down Des in his truck and got divorced. I still like the mental image of the chapter's secret boss being like,
"Come play catch with me, kiddo."
The big flashy final attack that takes up the whole screen could be an abstract, everymanified version of the King of the Hill intro time-lapse where you have to dodge the guys coming in and out of the alley. Of course, this was never gonna happen. Having a Hank would just be redundant when Lancer is already Bobby.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, the dang old Toho project, man,
But hopefully seeing the level of absolute stupidity I'm capable of makes it clear that I'm coming from a place of empathy and understanding when I say, the amount of people saying, actually, here's how Penumbra can still happen, after crystal clear deconfirmation feels kinda wild. My comment section is full of those lost soldiers who keep fighting for years after the war is over. So let's unpack some of their arguments and see if the theory might still be viable.
Well, Penumbra Phantasm was never finished for Homestuck, so it doesn't technically count as a Homestuck song. It's just a Toby Fox song that gets referenced in Homestuck.
This point and the many variations thereof rely on a level of semantic scrutiny that I find silly. Every attempt at a complete Penumbra we have quotes Doctor, a song from Homestuck that Toby did not compose. Doctor is only here by virtue of them both being songs for the same project. You could make a version of Penumbra that doesn't reference Doctor, only taking the original melodic material, but that wouldn't make the rest of Penumbra any less of a Homestuck song by association. If you haven't read Homestuck, Penumbra gets referenced exclusively during big plot moments, like Night Reveal at the end of Chapter 3 level big plot moments. You may think that's a bad example to pull, because the song for that scene quotes Nightmare Night, a fan song Toby made for Cucumber Quest. But the interview answer we're litigating here is specifically about Homestuck, so sit down. I don't know. There's reading between the lines, and then there's assuming someone's words mean the exact opposite of what they're saying. I'm not a fan of this one.
But Toby, what about April 2012? Or Sans' theme?
If you didn't know, April 2012 from Deltarune and Sans theme from Sans were found in the files for a couple of old Homestuck Flash games. You can see them in the GitHub repository here. You could say this technically contradicts Toby's statement, but the context implies these were both just placeholder songs to test the audio engine, so these only count if you're being an asshole. Sans theme is called Muscles here, and this odd file name carries over to Undertale and Deltarune. Homestuck features a few muscular characters, so people tend to assume this theme was intended for one of them. However, in the sheet music booklet included with the collector's edition of Undertale, Toby confirms it was actually written for the first iteration of Deltarune. He's mentioned that Heartache and Bone Trousel were written for this project in a few other places, but for some reason usually forgets to list this one with them, so this is somewhat obscure gaming trivia. Anyway, what were we talking about?
There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it.
But Toby, Penumbra Phantasm is in Dump, the song that plays in the S-rank room.
The notes people are referring to here aren't quoting Penumbra, they're quoting The Holy. Speaking of which...
But Toby, Penumbra Phantasm is already in The Holy. You've already lost.
If you saw my first video, chances are you know this connection is dubious at best, but it's actually even less true than I thought because I messed up. When comparing Penumbra Phantasm against The Holy, I played Penumbra Phantasm wrong. I was quickly transposing it up to be in the same key by ear, and spaced on the last two notes. Despite appearances, I barely know any music theory. I'm just a MIDI technician, so it's no surprise I fumbled this. Here's what my mistake sounded like. And here's what it actually sounds like. While the comparison was benefiting from my mistake, the loose contour isn't that different or anything. I'm just happy to get this correction on the record. I've seen people raise the idea of The Holy intentionally being a store brand substitution for the Penumbra motif, which I like. I don't have the same nostalgia bias for it, but it gets a similar feeling across. While we're in I Fucked Up Zone Act 2, there's a much more consequential case where I didn't pay enough attention to the last two notes. The quote in Hopes and Dreams. I wrote this off as just referencing Doctor, lacking any of those meaty, specific melodic Penumbra bits. I was operating under the assumption that there's enough variation in how you can play the chords that they aren't super helpful for distinguishing between the two, but I was too close-minded. There's actually a very specific tell for when Doctor chords are Doctor as quoted in Penumbra chords. I couldn't make sense of the comments I got about this through text, and I think I would still struggle to distinguish these by ear. I had to cross-reference transcriptions of like 6 different songs to confirm this was in fact a consistent thing, but here's what's up. Basically, the end of Doctor goes up, down, whereas the end of Penumbra goes down, up. While this part in Doctor just repeats the last two chords, Penumbra Phantasm instead repeats the last one, then jumps back to the first chord of the sequence before looping. This is consistent across the 2010 demo, the 2012 demo, and the quote in Hopes and Dreams. But this immediately gets messy when he's embellishing these chords in like any way. But hey, now we know for sure Hopes and Dreams quotes Penumbra Phantasm specifically. I'm glad we have confirmation even if it's not leading anywhere. Here's another correction, sort of. In my video, I call the 2020 Penumbra snippet a longer version of null.mp3, but then I kind of immediately contradict myself by saying it doesn't sound exactly like null. What did she mean by this? Apparently, it's generally agreed upon that those two snippets aren't really related besides sharing similar instrumentation. The whole deal with this 2020 Penumbra is the biggest unknown left on my mind. It seems like there's still some excitement behind the idea of Penumbra being used in Homestuck Beyond canon, the current Homestuck thing being made. In the interview, Toby says that while working on another Homestuck project would be fun, he's too busy to even contribute to Hiveswap Act 3. Which, by the way, is interesting. Hiveswap's development cycle has been so famously, Hiveswap's development cycle, that I just assumed there's more songs he composed for those games in 2016 locked in a vault somewhere. I kind of suspect this might still be the case and it's a miscommunication. I wouldn't find that worth clarifying for a site with enough ads to snowgrave my laptop either, but who knows. I like what they've done with the project, so this isn't a mean jab or anything, but from the outside in, it kind of feels like even the team making Homestuck Beyond Canon doesn't really have time to work on Homestuck Beyond Canon, so I would be shocked if this happens. I've also seen people say they can hear Penumbra in the Titan boss theme, as well as a few other Chapter 4 songs, but I've yet to see one that's not a Gaster hallucination. The resemblance is always just too vague to be convincing. Some people even think the interview might be fake. I guess because Toby hasn't reposted it anywhere, but I feel like that would go both ways, where if there was a fake interview for clicks floating around, he definitely would have denounced it by now. I want to be clear that Penumbra isn't 100% deconfirmed. Stranger things have happened, but all evidence places it at 99.9% deconfirmed. Even at my most unrealistically hopeful, it's time to be pleasantly surprised if it happens instead of expecting it. And that's the most I can say diplomatically. This leaves us with just a few random loose ends to touch on. A few commenters pointed out that the whale noises associated with 2010 Homestuck Penumbra actually show up again later in the comic. They're used as a sound effect for John's denizen Typheus. This connection isn't, interesting enough for me to explain it to the non-Homestuck heads, though, don't worry about it. But if you'd like to learn more about the minutiae of how Penumbra relates to that concept, I recommend reading PK Chiptune's Penumbra Phantasm Master Post, which is an excellent resource I wish I found before finishing my video. I'll link it below. I love how the first page has been updated. This document covers some additional oddities and details I didn't get to. I honestly just have no idea what to make of a lot of them. I still have no clue what Emerald Eclipse is. There's not that much to work off here. Also, 3 seconds of a Penumbra demo from August 2010 were recently discovered.
This song is from the new album. No, it's not.
Later on in this source, Toby refers to the song by a different name.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, the dang old
Penumbra Reverie.
This working title predates the Deltarune Fever Dream by at least a year. This is also in line with a helpful comment Marcy Neighbors left on my video.
Putting a reference to Penumbra Phantasm in Pros Pit Dreamers was 100% my idea. I have absolutely no idea how I learned its name, but I know I'd talked to Toby about it offhand when he was staying with me for the Hair Force 1 project's Massive Bunny meetup in DC in summer 2011, and my recollection is that the fandom was already somewhat aware of the name by that point. The mysteries escape even me.
If the phrase Hair Force 1's Massive Bunny meetup intrigued you, I actually remember reading about this 6 or 7 years ago, but it's gotten harder to research since old Tumblr blogs have gone down and decayed over time. Basically, there's this part in Homestuck where a plush bunny is being sent around the world and customized by all of John's friends as a birthday gift. Members of the official Homestuck forums decided it would be fun to recreate this in real life, with multiple bunnies being sent between multiple people, each one making modifications and writing a letter to the next recipient.
How did I live without you? I want to know. How did I breathe without you? I want you to show me. How did I ever survive? How did I leave?
After a full year, the project culminated in the Massive Bunny meetup in Washington, D.C., where fans met to collect and see off the bunnies before gifting them to their final recipients. This is so cute. It would be fun for the Deltarune community to do something similar, but I don't really want to open my P.O. box and find piles of Azrael's dust, so I don't know. It seems like the most contentious section of my video was the Pokemon Baby Is You thing. For the sake of the video flowing well, I oversimplified how this misinformation spread, and in the process came off a bit more callous than I intended to. Feel free to skip ahead a few minutes if you aren't interested in relitigating this, but since we have the space to stretch our legs in the dying embers of this after party, open bar paid for by W.D. Gaster, I'd like to clarify my position a little. When I say people looking for hidden leitmotifs in Toby's music want to feel smart, I want to be clear that as someone who's been there, it's completely subconscious. I don't think any individual person who does this is being actively cynical. Nobody's born with the terminology to say, these phrases are similar harmonically, or this sounds a lot like that other song that's in the same time signature, so stating the best approximation you can is perfectly fine. However, the popularity of fandom memes around Toby's creative process, as well as videos like the one I made, offer an uncommon social incentive to phrase these observations sensationally, or maybe even to listen with the intention of finding more capital C content. Under these circumstances, the line between curiosity and incuriosity gets uniquely thin. It would be dishonest to say The Baby Is You and the Pokemon song sound nothing alike, and it's not completely impossible that Toby could have decided to make a similar song without the intent to shitpost, but that assumed intent is inextricable from the popularity of the observation. There's not a Polygon article about how another medium is based on an unused Homestuck song because that's not funny. So this is a case where the memes really do determine what's accepted as common knowledge. And that's annoying, but it is kind of a cool case study. It demonstrates the convergence of circumstances that affect how we listen and articulate what we hear. But it's not like I take back making fun of those comments. That shit was funny, come on. While talking about Marcy Neighbors and Jamie Page's cover of Penumbra Phantasm, I mentioned that the fake Homestuck Volume 10 leak it came from had unique cover art by Kate Holden, which I couldn't find. I jokingly called it lost media, assuming someone had to have it, but I somehow missed the most obvious place I could have sourced it from myself. It was just sitting on this YouTube upload the whole time. I have no idea how I missed this, but my incompetence led to the artist posting the piece in HD. She was happy to share and a little confused at why I didn't just ask. I'm a Virgo, and some of my first exposure to Homestuck was through the adorable fan dub that Kate Holden acted in, so it was a little surreal to have the real Kanaya lightly teasing me. She also shared a bit of deep-cut Homestuck music trivia I don't think anyone knew about. Apparently, this art was originally intended for a compilation of unused Homestuck tracks that didn't fit on Volume 10, which Holden refers to under the title Stuckholm Syndrome. I've never seen this mentioned anywhere else, but there was an unofficial bonus music team album called PS, released in 2018, which fits this description. So I think we can assume the project just evolved into that. RJ Lake, who organized Volume 10, used the name Stuckholm Syndrome for his own compilation of unused tracks. That might be where the confusion is coming from. Quick plug for RJ and the rest of D-Cell's upcoming game Unbeatable, which looks amazing. A lot of people from the old Homestuck music orbit have finally been getting their flowers as of late. When I mentioned that fake Penumbra leak, I got like 50 comments asking,
Wait, that was made by Jamie Page? As in, Vocaloid producer Jamie Page?
And yes, the same person who made Sudumbra Photasm is popping off like crazy as we speak. Her music is delightful, some of the most expressive, paradoxically human vocal synth work I've heard. You should also check out her work with producer supergroup Flavor Foley. The video for their song Static has gotten 7 million views in less than 7 weeks. The song casts Miku as a nostalgic children's TV show host desperately trying to keep her audience. Don't change the channel, just keep watching. This is how it should be. Oh hey Tenna. Just as this commenter predicted, it's only taken a few weeks for countless Tenna fan animations set to this song to emerge. It's a slam dunk for all parties involved. It makes me so happy that people are making sad Tenna animatics in the same way they did with Spamton, and having a cute little full circle moment like this makes Penumbra's absolute deconfirmation sting just a little less. If you're still listening to me yap, you might be wondering what I thought of the new chapters. The Chapter 4 Light World section was my favorite. I love how messy it gets, it's everything I wanted. I love the Noel AVGN dialogue. I love Tenna. He's up there with Conti Fooly Cooley in the TV Head Guy Hall of Fame. I love how just like fucked the egg rooms are. I love how good Gerson Night People ate despite losing. The Sanctuary themes are obviously amazing. Out of all the new songs, I think I've listened to Tenna's boss theme the most. I have no idea how Toby made such a good fitting boss theme for like the concept of television. The Doom board part, where the triangle wave bassline sounds like a dusty CRT humming, is absolute peak. It smells like a VHS tape burning, it's disgusting. This is fucking nacho fries music. Before I go, I'd like to thank my friend Chumby for that Bobby After Not Surviving edit, and providing most of the gameplay footage you saw in this video, as well as my other friend @WheelieScoot for voiceover. I had them read bad arguments, but on their own channel they have good ones. And much like Deltarune sprites, every time their little rant Sona has a new expression, I'm like, oh, that one's so good. That one's my favorite. No wait, that one's my favorite. So if you liked this video, chances are you'll like some of what they've got cooking. As for me, I have more videos coming out of the pipes, but they're taking too long, haha. But I'm done thinking about this game for a bit. Actually, I need a break.
Dreams don't die.